Is the record company cool with that?
Whatever.
I love that answer. Let me tell you why this week's episode was so interesting to me. I had on the mighty Black Tusk. They have a new record coming out called The Way Forward, and as we were talking about the record, we talked about punk's place in society these days with the modern political climate. We also talked about why they got into metal, and it was really interesting to me because Derek talked about having great supportive parents growing up, and still he wanted to get into metal.
And it's also weird to like want to play that music sometimes because I grew up with a pretty comfortable life with like very supportive parents, like very liberally minded. Like it's like you could do what you want, like just as long as you love it.
They come to our Savannah shows as parents.
Yeah, yeah, like they're super about it, but like I had no reason to rebel in that sense, like in home life.
So I feel like there's a common thread there with people who do have okay, decent enough lives. You know, it's not all of us that are degenerates who are trying to cope with some sort of childhood trauma. Some of us were okay, but there's still something inside that brings us to the dark and the heavy. So, without further delay, here is my interview with Black Tusk. Black Tusk, my fellow Georgians, welcome to Heavy Metal Philosophy.
Hello,
Thanks for having us.
What's up?
So, I listened to your new record on my commute home today, and I got to thank you because that is an energetic piece of rock and roll. Really helped me with that hour-long drive.
You're in Atlanta? You have all the
No,
commuting to do.
no. I work in a city south of Atlanta, but I live in the woods in the middle of nowhere. So
Nice.
there's no jobs in the foothills of the mountains. I have to just go where they're at.
Yep.
So
yeah.
I'm new to Black Tusk, and so I was doing my research and I was like, okay, sludge metal, Savannah, Georgia, cool. And then I play the record. I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. Is punk. This is punk rock right here. Okay, cool. It's like sludgy punk rock. I would say if you took a big lineup of sludge bands, y'all would probably be one of the more unique bands that I've heard.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's
yeah.
definitely
We get lumped in with the all like we always get this like, all right, you're gonna be with these bands. It's like, yeah, you don't really fit with them, and then you don't really fit with them, and like I remember one of the first tours I did after joining the band with the Casualties, and we played with them, and day one they were like, you guys are punks.
or
Yeah,
like
it's more of a metal punk, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've had some friends that like listen to the new stuff and they're like, I feel like this would fit better on like some blackened hardcore punk tours and stuff.
Yeah, it
And
must be a blessing and a curse because on the one hand, you may feel like you don't really fit in. On the other hand, you kind of can travel around in a lot of different circles, go on several different kinds of
Yeah.
tours.
That's great. Yeah. That's when you don't fit in one place, you fit in all over. So whatever.
I like to think that our music is pretty approachable to a lot of different people. So like
Yeah.
if you like if say you only like punk or if you only like sludge or you only like metal, there's aspects of that in everything that we have. So like anyone can approach it and listen to it.
Yeah, it's groovy, like like doom sludge tends to be. It's just really it's kind of angry sounding, but like
Yeah. Melodic.
some of it's fun too.
Yeah.
Like real shouty gang chants.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all sing. Everybody sings in the band.
So what is that decision making process like? It's like you write a song and go, "Oh, Andrew would sound good on this one," or Scary would sound good on this one."
Yeah.
Does anybody ever go, "Hey,
Yeah,
I want to
pretty
sing
much.
on this one"?
That happens too. It's
You
a
ever-
pretty open democratic process when it comes to writing any of the material. Like all the songs are written together. Nobody comes to rehearsal with a full song and says this is what you're going to play. So people come in with riffs and ideas, and then everyone gets together and we hash the entire song out. And then for this new record, everyone wrote vocals. Everyone picked out a handful of songs and everyone wrote their own lyrics. And like as you're like, as you're writing your lyrics and listening to the song over and over again, you can hear like whose voice you think would go best with what part. And so you just kind of write their name next to that part. And then when we're in the studio, we're like, okay, here's the vocals. Look over, everybody looks over them. We're like, all right, let's maybe change this, maybe move this. And they're like, this is what I'm thinking for parts. And then we'll get in front of the mic and try it. And if it works, then we keep it. If not, then we'll switch to somebody else's voice till we find what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Interesting. So
because everyone's voice is different too.
Yeah, and it provides different colors and emotions. So if somebody writes a part and they've got their lyrics, and then somebody else is coming up on top of it and they've got their lyrics, does that change the meaning of the song?
No, lyrically, one person will write the lyrics and the content and set the idea for the song. And then within those parameters, everyone will move stuff around or add lines or take away lines, but within the same like subject of what's going on, like with the song.
So the meaning stays the same from the beginning to the end of the process.
Yeah. We might edit like a word here or there, if it just doesn't rhythmically fit, and that's like decided in the studio.
Yeah, because I find that everybody has a different comfortability with playing and singing at the same time. And since everybody plays, maybe this syllable or this cadence works a little differently for you than it does for, Chris or Andrew.
Yeah, totally.
So as I'm listening to it and I'm thinking about punk rock, I'm thinking about, in the 70s, punk rock was huge and burgeoning. And then it came back in the 90s in this weird way. And then it kind of lulled again. And now I feel like punk rock is kind of primed to have another resurgence. I feel like whenever society starts to get a little.
When you say punk rock, you mean the idea of punk rock?
Yes,
or like,
yes.
your 70s British punk rock sounding punk rock, or like, 80s Bay Area punk rock.
Yeah, like, definitely the spirit of it, because like hardcore is different than, definitely.
Yeah. I feel like punk rock, like punk music and metal music have always kind of like, had that like interweaving to where like some bands are just like, they have a little bit screamier vocals, or like, just their guitars are a little thicker, and, they tend to like, you kind of teeter on that line of like, where do you put, and like, I don't know, punk and metal have always been kind of that,
well, it's like, it's a catharsis.
People take ideas from each other.
Yeah.
And
it's like you were saying, like society maybe reaches like a boiling point, and punk is like a form of like, it's a release, and it's that agitation just like distilled, and it's got like a certain sloppiness to it, maybe even, but it's like all attitude and like, I don't know.
I think agitation is the perfect word, because that's the way I feel right now. I feel really agitated, like things don't make sense, and it's hard to put it into words, as I struggle to do it right now. But if I grab a guitar and play really fast and scream, that makes sense to me.
Totally.
Yeah. That makes sense to us. That's why we've been doing it for so long.
It's a therapy.
Uh-huh.
So you got the new record. It's 2024. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your last record was 2018.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, COVID happened. Lineup change happened. James moved to Athens during COVID, so we're not all in the same city anymore. So we just been kind of working with those limitations, and then just really taking our time making the record. Not a race.
Sure. Yeah. And you added members in that amount of time. So if I understand right, Scary, you were added on the last record, and then Derek,
I was actually so I have been a friend of the band pretty much since its inception, and then they asked me to actually engineer the last record, and so they were a 3-piece then, and we recorded the record, and it was like one of the last days of mixing that they kind of tossed out the idea of, hey, there's a lot of 2 guitar stuff on this record. Do you want to come on the road and do it? So I did, and then I guess eventually I just became a member.
He did.
They
He
must
just never
like
left.
you.
He never
Yeah.
left.
But yeah, then Derek, we were about maybe a third of the way into writing songs for the new record, and then Derek came out and started playing with us, and it just clicked
Instantly. Like,
yeah,
within the first 10 minutes, we showed Derek this song. This is the song we're working on. This is where we're stuck. And Derek's like, well, that's because you just need to do this. And like played this like amazing riff. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
This is the guy.
Yeah.
You play bass, Derek?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Derek plays everything.
He's actually a guitar player. He's better than the both of us, but he plays bass for Black Tusk.
I'm a musician. That's
Right.
Yes. Multi-instrumentalist.
The reason why I asked it like that is because I've had a couple of bass players that are just like, those stereotypes about bass players don't work. This is the best guy in the band. This guy.
Yeah, you gotta hold it down. You know, you're an anchor. You know, even
The
if
great
you're
thing about having a great musician as a bass player and a great drummer is they lock in together, and Derek and James together are just so killer. Like they just lock in and
the
just
pocket.
hold it down. So good. I'll let you
Yeah.
guys
And then,
agree.
and then me and Scary could just skibbly wow all over the place. That's just fine.
well, you gotta like kind of like drop your ego a little bit maybe when you're like playing bass. You know, you can't think about it like you're playing guitar. You're playing a completely different instrument. Like, so if the song requires you to just play one note, you know, and like lock in with the kick drum, that's what you do. That like makes the song better. And you take it away and you'll notice it, but like you might not notice it when it's there. Like, but I assure you, take it away and you'll be like, something's wrong, something's off.
Yeah.
Especially on the way forward, because this is such an energetic record. So it's going to be super important for the rhythm section to be on top of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The energy of this record, do you think that's just who you are, or is it like, okay, it's been a long time, we're coming out swinging?
Who we are as musicians. That's where we have evolved ourselves to as musicians, I think. And just with the long, you know, this is what, record number 8? This is 8, 9? What record is this?
I don't know. You've been in the band the whole time.
So it's just kind of like, this is where we've landed. This is like, we feel real comfortable playing this kind of music. And, you know, this is what, with this group of musicians, like, this is what we turned out. Like, this is what we all clicked on.
Speaking of the band being together for a long time, Derek, is it weird to join such a long-standing band and be the new guy?
No. I know what you mean, but like it was like honestly the easiest thing ever, because like I got so used to like, you know, starting bands and just like the uphill battle of like playing basement shows, and it was really nice to just join a band that already had some kind of like status and
by the way, we've got a
recognition.
gig.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh yeah, they're putting us up in a hotel room tonight. I was like, perfect.
Well, that must also be a testament to the rest of the guys making you feel comfortable.
Oh yeah, I mean,
we gave him $1 million right when he signed up.
Robert Trujillo.
I'd like to offer you, basically, to show you how serious we are about this. Offer you $1 million to join our band right now.
Happy, happy, dance, dance. Happy, happy, dance, dance.
Now, y'all gave me a whopper.
Disappointed.
It's true.
Yeah, it was a easy transition. I mean, Savannah's a small city anyway, so like, you know, I'd grown up around Black Tusk, you know, whether or not like, you know, we had played together before, so I knew that they were good guys just through the local scene, you know. So I had no problems adjusting. And it's kind of weird though, because like, 6 years ago, I didn't know them at all really personally. And now they're my best friends. So, it's like
That's
here,
awesome to hear.
yeah, you join the band. It's like, here's your new best friends.
Here's your new homies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna sit next to each other and sneak vapes in the back
You're
of the
gonna
van.
smell a lot of my
Nobody's
farts.
looking.
Yeah.
Rooster,
I love to hear that, man, because like Journey's on tour right now, and they've got security to keep each other from getting into each other's bedrooms because they hate each other so much, and
Oh my
there's
God.
lawsuits going on, and it's like, how can you function? How are you still on tour? I don't understand.
That's weird that like your band kind of becomes bigger than you, like as a person. So you have to keep doing it out of necessity, right?
Yeah, and how do you look across the stage? You want to murder that guy, and like y'all are in the middle of litigation, but you play
Yeah.
the show. Like I guess they're more professional than I am.
Yeah, it's just a job at that point. You just clock in and clock out.
Yeah.
Emotionless.
Not for us though. Like I think if it got to that point, like I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah,
Right.
well, it's definitely not a job because we're not making any money.
Well, where'd that $1 million come from that you gave me?
We stole it.
Yeah, Ocean's 11 shit.
Yeah. Play music for fun, rob banks for a living.
There we go.
We definitely play music for fun, and that's another thing about this band that, like, you asked why it took so long to make a record. It's because, like, we're not doing this as work. This is a labor of love. This is something that we enjoy to do. Like, we make this music for us. We make this music for the people who still come to see us. And so, like, taking the rat race aspect out of it, like, we're not trying to make it. I think we're probably as big as we're gonna be. You know what I mean? So now we're just going out and playing music and having fun, and like, it supports itself for sure, which is great. This is why we can continue to do it, and we just have fun with it, and like that keeps it fresh, that keeps it entertaining, that keeps everyone in high spirits. We're just having fun with it. We're not stressing out about it.
Right on. I like that.
Like,
is the record company cool with that?
Whatever.
I love that answer.
I think Black Tusk kind of benefited from existing in a time before the current rat race of streaming and like having to constantly like create content to like keep yourself in the algorithm. Like, our name is attached to a certain time frame, if that makes sense.
The before times, because we're
That makes
dinosaurs.
sense. But also the kind of band that you are and the sound that you have. Like, I feel like your audience is going to be more like the listen to an album audience and not necessarily what's the hottest single, who just dropped a music video week to week, whatever's hot,
Which is probably why we still make albums, because that you're right. Like, those are our fans. They're the fans who like have record players and sit down and like listen to an album front to back.
Yeah. Or put it in the car on a long drive.
Exactly.
Yeah. I struggle with that because, doing this whole YouTube thing, like it's the what's hot now. They've got a single. I can't cover every single that comes out.
Yeah.
As a matter of necessity, I prefer to focus on albums. Y'all have an album coming out April the 26th called The Way Forward. And that, to me, I like that event. And I like that there's a time period around it. And I can't do that. There's singles that drop every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day. We dropped, for example, like the label dropped 3 singles, I think, for this record, which we've never done before. I think maybe like 1 has come out before, like in the past or whatever, but they dropped 3. And they definitely gained traction, like, for the younger people that listen to us, like on all the streaming platforms and stuff. Like, we noticed the big upticks and stuff when the label started dropping those. So it's interesting to watch that we are, while we do have an older fan base, I do feel like this record is going to gain traction with the younger generation too. I think.
Good.
Because I think the music is so approachable and has like that's why I think the music is so approachable that it's going to cast a very wide net.
Yeah, because it's got this the lead guitars. They're real like
That's scary.
mirthful.
Scary did all that.
Right on. So when you were doing the leads, were you like, okay, I'm not doing traditional guitar solos. I want this to be like a real mirthful and constant sound that's kind of like through the whole song and not just during this section I play lead guitar.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's I'm I just write what comes to my head, and it's I try not to like do something that stands out. I want it to fit the song. And when your songs are just like powerful and simple, I feel like a lead should be powerful and simple. And it I don't know. I'm not like a shredder guitar player, and so I just I play simple leads that fit the song. So pretty much like there's a few effects that we use on the record, but most of the tones are like the guitar plugged directly into an amp.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's all it is. There's a few that I might have thrown a fuzz or some like flanger or something here and there, but most of this record is a guitar plugged directly into an amp and the bass plugged into. I think we used a fuzz pedal, and so I mean it's just like I think we did use a fuzz pedal on the amp, and but it was like I mean it's a pretty raw record, and the guitars are just that old sense of just plug it in, turn it up, and make it loud.
Yeah, because Scary recorded the whole record. Like he's sitting in his control room right now in his studio, which is where we recorded the entire record.
Yeah, it sounds very organic to me. And when you talk about effects, the thing that popped out in my head is Ocean of Obsidian, that instrumental interlude
Derek
song.
wrote that song.
Yeah, that one has
Derek.
a bit of a.
That was all Derek.
There's a bit of effect on that one, but everything else sounds really organic and straightforward.
Yeah, that was kind of a last second addition to the album, but I got to use that baritone on that. So that was an instance of using the baritone in a heavy sense that we were talking about before the podcast.
Get down.
Or not podcast, video.
Yeah, podcast.
Yeah, Derek just came over one day, and we just like we plugged in some amps, we set up some keyboards. You had your old record player that we were playing like these crazy old Gregorian chants on, and man, we just had a day and just got weird. It was awesome.
Yeah. I like that. And I like that sort of a song on a record. That's another thing that's sort of missing from this whole time of not listening to the whole record is you get a little interlude to sort of break up the pace of the record, and then you get to crank it back up again.
So funny story about interludes and intros. So because in our back catalog, like we write albums to be listened to front to back, right? So there's most of our old records lead off with like a 30-second intro or a minute-long intro. So now if you go to our Spotify, all of our top songs are like the intros for every single record because people are listening to the first thing. So if you didn't know any better, you would think we were some kind of instrumental band. Because like you said, like we write the record to be listened to front to back. So there's interludes and segues that tie all the songs together. So it's like one whole piece. Just like when you watch us play live, we don't stop and talk. Derek has a sampler pedal on his board, and we take our set, and when we write it, we tie it all together with samples and stuff that are hooked into his like sample and looper pedal, so that like when we're stopping, like it's still going, like you're listening to the record, everything is still flowing, there's no quiet space. And then you have the whole experience for 45 minutes, and then it's done. And then we'll talk to you afterwards, but not from the stage.
Yeah, it makes it like a cohesive piece, like like a I don't know, like a audio painting kind of situation, or I don't know.
Ooh, audio painting, I like that.
Yeah.
Audio painting with Derek, dude. That's your new YouTube show.
Well, before we go, I want to ask you one more question because this is obviously a heavy metal podcast and show, but it's also a philosophy show. So I'm always interested in people's motivations for getting into, you know, death metal and black metal and punk rock. These really, like, this is not pop music, you know. So there has to be something else going on with you to not want to make the popular sounding music. You know, like you said,
Yeah.
y'all, now the band is supporting itself, but you're not making $1 million. But less than 20 years, just under 20 years later, you're still going, still strong, still love it. So there must be some sort of inner motivations.
But do you think like we have like a desire, maybe as humans, to break the rules in a, so to speak? Like things exist in a state of organization, and metal and punk and like dissonant music is kind of breaking out of that organization, and it's like
Yes.
a
And
maybe
also, so when you become a musician, people tell you it's a hard road and you're most likely not going to make it. And then there's this part of you that goes, fuck you, I'm going to do it anyway. And for metal musicians, it has to be like double that, triple that, you know.
yeah because
Did we even make it? I'm not sure.
what I like, I know what you mean. Like I just remember like growing up in high school and playing in like metal bands and hardcore punk bands, and then like my parents hear it and they're like, that's nice, but I can tell that they really mean like, this is fucking terrible. Like it's like, I really like it except for the screaming, stuff like that. And it's also weird to like want to play that music sometimes, because I grew up with a pretty comfortable life with like very supportive parents, like very liberally minded. Like it's like you could do what you want, like just as long as you love it.
They come to our Savannah shows as parents.
Yeah, like they're super about it, but like I had no reason to rebel in that sense, like in home life. So it's like maybe more of like a societal bucking society's trends, I think.
Yeah,
From a very
back to
young
what you
age.
said earlier, agitation.
Yes.
Some people don't need to rebel. Some people just have anger inside them that they need to get out, and just frustration, and like everybody has their own struggles that they're going through. And just because I have a job and I've got a roof over my head, and you don't know that you're also going through this, or like you're also doing that. And the way forward, like we've all gone through some pretty fucked up shit in the past couple of years, and we got through it. We're moving forward, and there was a lot of anger in the last couple of years. I mean, at least for me, like I was just like a lot of anger, a lot of a lot of mental torment over like lockdown, everything you get in your own head. And so I don't know, there's a lot of material to write about.
It's a way to like turn that anger inside out into like something healthier,
Yeah.
So is that where the album title comes from, The Way Forward?
That is where the album title comes from.
I think that pretty much encapsulates what I feel about that question that I asked everybody, because life is short and this is a hard thing to do, so it takes a certain gumption to do it, to say, "No, I want to do this."
So what I would say, the reason why I do it is, for me, when I was young, I was just like Derek. Like I was in bands in high school, and then for me, it was the energy, it was the release of playing the show, because like people play sports, people do this. For me, it was playing music, and it was also the sense of community. Like, because that's the one thing about Savannah where we live. It's like we have this group of friends here that's like no other scene that I know of, and like everyone's super tight knit, and we just built this like extended family around playing music. And then so we started doing that like when we were teenagers. And here we are in our 40s, and we're still doing it with the same group of people who are still alive. You know, some of us didn't make it, and we're still here doing the same thing. And like, it's still the same release every time we get on stage. It's like, this is awesome. This is a rush. This is great. You know, this is better than doing drugs or fighting or doing whatever. Like, this is what I want to do. That's why I do it.
Plus, you know, like the great thing about being in a
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah. And like, you know, when you get to tour and go to different cities and meet new people, and like you get to see other bands that just like, you know, blow your mind, and you become tight with those bands, and then you go on tour with them, and then you become like awesome, like super close with them. Then you learn about the bands that they've seen and everything, and you just like, it just broadens your horizons, and you meet people that from all over the world that just like make a huge impact on your life.
Hell yeah. Well, the album is The Way Forward from Black Tusk, coming out Friday, April the 26th. If you want some high energy, sludgy punk rock, punk metal, as you like to call it, it's got high recommendations from me. Thank you so much for being with me today on Heavy Metal Philosophy, and good luck with the release.
Thank you.
Man.
Thanks for having us.